Hey guys, it's Kevin Ward here with MixCoach, and I've got some pretty exciting news, I think, for me anyway. So let me just trace back a few years here. I started a podcast several years ago when I started MixCoach.com, and the premise of the podcast was to help mixers learn to be better mixers. You know, basically it all revolved around being in the studio trenches and, learning to produce records. I had some interns that I was training at the time, and I had some great students from MTSU, some of which became, lifelong friends. And it was it was a really good experience because I felt like I was in my element. I was doing something that I did every day. Lessons as I learned them, I would teach them. If somebody came to me with a question, I felt like I could answer it, and I just captured all of that in a podcast, and it felt really, I guess, cohesive with what I was doing at the time, which was mixing a lot of records. Well, back in 2016, I was writing some songs with a friend of mine, Eddie Harrison, and Eddie and I had been kind of talking about him teasing me about how beautiful the weather was in California, and I came during NAMM in 2014 and stayed with them like 10 or 11 days, and Jana really liked it, my wife, and my daughter really liked it, being in California, and so that was just always in the back of my mind. So in 2016, Eddie was going to do a worship EP or a worship record for Crosspoint Church in Yorba Linda at the time. And Eddie called me to help him do it. So he came in, I think, February of 2016. And we were writing, got some really cool songs written out of it. And then, I don't know, I guess I asked too many questions about the weather and the power bills and what the water bill was during a drought in Yorba Linda, and Eddie just kind of said, "Hey, you're asking some next level questions, or what's up?" And I was like, "Well, I'd kind of like to try something different." And I knew that he had been talking about how the church was expanding and growing, and they were just about to move into this beautiful 50,000 square foot facility, and they needed somebody to learn to do all the production, all of the technology that was going to be involved in, Facebook streaming, recording, training audio and video and lighting people, and just fascinated me. So fast forward, that was in February, fast forward back to maybe March, my wife and Kaylin and I flew out to California, and we went to the Easter service, and it just felt like a good fit. It was a bold move. It was a scary move. It was a move that I did with a lot of prayer, and I would love to say that it was easy and that everything was just crystal clear and my whole purpose was fulfilled when I crossed the California state line, but it wasn't. I have had self-doubts about, why did I move? Had a really good career going in Nashville, but at the bottom, or at the end of the day, I have to rely on, I felt a calling to move to California and become something different than just a mixing engineer. Not that that's minimal or anything like that. It was just, I felt like I was being called, and I read scripture, I prayed about it, and the bottom line was that I felt like if I didn't do something different when I felt like, God was telling me to do something, that I would regret it and that I would disappoint God. So I moved to California. We sold our house in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and we moved to California. We rented for a year, and then we bought a house, and I dove headfirst into learning things that I had been partially interested in, like video production, lighting. I've always loved leadership, and I've gotten a lot of opportunity to do that here at Crosspoint in Anaheim. But my podcast and my website was suffering a little bit because of the the disconnect that I felt in me. I felt like even though I've had, 25, 30 years of great studio experience working with some of the best musicians in the world, some of the best singers in the world, working with groups that had never recorded before, artists that had never written a song before, writing songs with them. I went from that to learning all new stuff. So I didn't feel like I was qualified somehow to do a podcast on mixing because I wasn't mixing as much as I used to be. So I kind of went into this season of my life of just learning new things and, being a little insecure about not being really good at it yet. And not that I am good at it now, although I've gotten a lot better. In the meantime, I've learned a lot of stuff that I want to teach now. And it's not all about mixing. It's not all about just producing records. It's going to be that and more. So if you don't mind taking this journey with me, I want to introduce you to mainly people that I have been learning from. And they're not just mixers. They're mixers in addition to tech directors, which are people that understand the technology enough to keep churches and, just productions in general. Not that church is a production, but sometimes it is. I love things well done. As many of you know, I've always loved Dancing with the Stars. And, especially in the earlier years, the last episodes were kind of rough, but I've always loved I've always been fascinated with live production, how people come out and perform, and at the same time it's aesthetically pleasing to look at. The lighting, the audio, the music, everything works together to bring home a point, which is really what I'm doing now. It's church production, I guess you could call it. And so I've learned so much more that I want to teach. So I'll be talking to tech directors. I'll be talking to musical directors because I've done that too. A musical director, just a short definition, is somebody that basically puts together the music on a Sunday. They use Ableton tracks. They might use Pro Tools. They might do pre-recorded tracks. They coach band members, whether they're experienced or not, into playing as a unit, as a band. I'm going to be talking to record producers. I'm going to be talking to video directors and lighting directors. I'm actually in the middle of building a studio here in the church, so I'm going to be talking about that too. If you don't mind taking this journey with me, like I said, I'd like to introduce you to lots of friends that I've been learning from, and I would love to teach you and point you in the direction of people that will help you if you're interested in this sort of thing. If you're interested in being a better mixing engineer, then I'll have that. I'll try my best to have that. If you're interested in learning how to, put together lights, video production, I'd like to share with you kind of the way we do things here at Crosspoint. I would like to learn from other tech directors while you listen in, because I can't think of a better way to learn than to be in on the right conversations. And I'd like to host those conversations as much as I can. And hopefully, if you're interested, you can learn along with me. So thanks for being patient with me. Thanks for being patient while I explained kind of what I've been up to for the last couple of years and why the podcasts have been kind of sporadic, and I would like to change that starting now. So go ahead and subscribe to the MixCoach podcast. This is going to be the same feed. I'm going to be actually building on, although I may change the look of it, the feel of it a little bit. It's going to be the same feed. So if you want to subscribe to the MixCoach podcast, subscribe wherever you have subscribed before, and stay tuned. There's going to be some hopefully great and helpful episodes coming up pretty soon. So with that, I'd just like to say I'm back, and I'll be teaching as much as and more than I have before. So, thanks for listening in, and I'll catch you on the next episode.